In this lesson, I'm going to show you what the adjustment brush, the graduated filter, and the radial filter do. This is another way that you can adjust just parts of your image. I've added this file to your folder, which you probably already have now. It's the Photoshop 9 file, which will be a good example, especially for the graduated filter. So let me just quickly make an adjustment to the exposure. If you want to follow along, go ahead. I'm just boosting the exposure by 2.4 or so. So let's first start with this graduated filter. By clicking that, nothing happens, but we get a bunch of new sort of adjustments over here. Now they should probably not be changed. Right now I have the exposure adjusted, so I'm going to double click that so everything is set to 0. What I want to do is click and drag in the image, and just click and drag, and then I'll show you kind of what's happening. Nothing has changed when I clicked and drag. If I check on the mask option, and it might help to change this mask to something like pink, we can actually see the selected part of this image that is going to be adjusted. So I haven't actually added a pink sort of overlay to this. This is just telling me what's in pink is what is going to be changed. Now I can use all of these adjustments here to make changes. So let me turn off the mask and let me now make an exposure adjustment. So say I bring down the exposure or up the exposure, it's just affecting that top part of the image. I can adjust the white balance if I want to make the sky more orange or more blue. I can do that. Clarity or dehaze, this would be the perfect example of using dehaze to just get rid of some of the haze that's in the sky. You have all of your other options here that you can play around with that you've seen before. You do have one new option called moire reduction. I don't know if you've ever seen before, but when you're taking photos of a really detailed pattern like a striped shirt or a checkered shirt, sometimes you get a little bit of sort of fuzziness in that shirt. And so what you could do is apply that sort of moire reduction to just the shirt, which might be better done with the adjustment brush or the radial filter, which we'll show you in just a second. So that's basically what the adjustment brush does. And there are some more advanced features that I'll go over with all of these tools in the next lesson. But let's go move on to the radial filter. So clicking that, it basically does the same thing. We can click and drag. And right now we have all of the same sort of presets that we use for that last adjustment. So let's delete that and reset all of these. So now if we click and drag, you see sort of an oval, and we can make it tall, wide. So say I just want to make some sort of adjustment to this part of the image. Well, let's turn on the mask to see what's happening. Well, it's actually selecting everything outside of the circle. So we want to go down here to this effect option and choose inside. You also have a feathering, which sort of blends the adjustment in with some feathering. So now if we turn off the overlay, you can also turn off this overlay button down here to not see this circle if that helps. We can now adjust this. Say we want to make this part of the hills really warm. Maybe we want to boost the contrast and the sharpness of this part of the image. Maybe boost the saturation. Now I'm just going through this a little bit quick, but let's go ahead and boost the clarity as well. So now that works pretty good. So say you want to do 2 of these adjustments. So either using the graduated filter or the radial filter. Now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to add another one. What you do is just click the new button up here and then you start from scratch. Okay? To delete or to move, you can just select it and move that point in the middle. See how there's that green dot? You could also select the edges to change the size. And then to delete, just when it's selected, press the delete key on your keyboard. Same with the graduated filter. If we want to go back and adjust it, we can go ahead and click the point or one of the points and make adjustments, or select the new button to create a new adjustment. And you can see that what happens is that it selects the part of the image from where you started clicking. So let me delete this and I'll show you again. So if I click at the bottom and drag up, it's selecting that bottom part of the image. If I click from the left and drag right, it's selecting the left side, and so on and so forth. Let's go on to the adjustment brush, which is basically the same idea, but instead of using sort of a graduated or radial filter, we're brushing on to our image. Let's reset all of our settings. Turn on our mask. You can change the size of your brush here, the feathering, The flow and the density, this is sort of like the opacity, and if your flow and if your density is off anyways, it will sort of only apply it at a more gradual level. You'll have to brush over multiple times to get the full effect. I usually just leave it on full. So say we want to just adjust those things down there. I paint over it. Let's turn off our mask so we can see what's happening. Maybe we want to decrease the saturation, make this black and white, make it super creative. Or maybe we adjust here, increase the clarity so everything's a little bit clearer, but we're not doing as much of a warm adjustment. Maybe we're making it a little bit cooler actually, making it a little less saturated, increasing the contrast or decreasing the contrast. You're making an adjustment based off of where you brush. Now, if I continue to brush, it will continue to make adjustments wherever I brush, unless I click the new button so that I have a completely brand new brush that I can make new adjustments to. So let me delete that. Let me delete this brush as well. Let me just show you what happens if the density is down below. So now let's turn on, the mask is on. See how it's sort of a lighter pink? So whatever adjustments we make aren't going to be as strong. So let's turn off the mask so you can see that I've brought my exposure down really far, but it's not really affecting it that much. But I can continue to sort of paint over it, and it will continue to make it darker and darker and darker until the density of what I'm brushing is basically up at 100%. Or you can increase and brush again, and it does it right away. So think of sort of the density as how opaque your brush is. Flow works in a similar way. I've increased flow all the way to 100%. We've got our mask down here on so we can see what I'm doing. See, it's sort of like a complete big paintbrush. Now if I decrease the flow all the way, paint on, you barely get it. So this is great for making really subtle minor adjustments. Sometimes I'll use this brush adjustment to increase the exposure of just faces on a portrait or in a group photo. That seems to work really well. So that's basically how you use this brush. I'm going to show you some advanced features for how you edit these selections with the range mask and also with the brushes option for your graduated and radial filters coming up in the next lesson.